Thank you, Senator Baldwin. Senator Wicker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This hearing's been going on an hour and a half now. Maybe it's time to sort of summarize what we've learned so far. And I'll start with you, Ms. Baker. We are behind in 5G. Are we in second place or third place? And how far behind are we? And how big of a problem is that? I don't think Senator Schatz has elicited an answer yet about our Spectrum Now Act, which he and I have introduced with Udall and Moran. So maybe some of you have an opinion about whether that's a valuable thing for Congress to do. What else is the role of Congress in getting us where we need to be on mid-band? And what's the role of the FCC specifically? Do they need to act more quickly in addressing the mid-band spectrum, such as the proceeding on the C-band? So we'll start down here and see if we can bring this hearing up to date.
Thank you for your question. That's a big one. I would say we are behind. We announced that we were number 3 in the global race behind China and South Korea. We were number 1 in industry readiness. We were number 6 in midband. That averaged out to number 3. Since we announced that, this committee and its leadership, as well as the FCC, has stepped up. So we are making progress. We have a plan. We now have a plan on spectrum, which is airwaves, and we have a plan on siting the new small cells with Streamline. So we are
Who's
making, we as in this committee and the FCC and the country as a whole to win the race to 5G. We can still win, but we have to act. And so I think it's very important both for our economy, because we were leaders in 4G, it enabled the innovation of the app industry, the innovation of the sharing economy to be here in the United States. And we want the same thing for 5G. We don't know exactly what 5G is going to unlock, except for we know it's going to be remote surgery. We know that at 100 times faster and virtually no lag time, we know it's going to unlock all kinds of things in transportation and energy and education. We want all of that to happen here so that we can export our innovation instead of taking the Chinese innovation here.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yes, Senator Wicker. Thank you so much for that question. I want to clarify 2 important points. First, when Ms. Baker says the United States is behind, no one is ahead of Qualcomm in making the chips for 5G. Okay? That work is being done in the United States of America. Just this week, we announced something that no one in the wireless industry thought was possible. When 5G was first conceived, no one thought it was going to go into a phone because for these millimeter wave bands, you have many, many antennas. And the ability to have many antennas, there's no place in one of these phones to put more antennas. What we announced this week is a module that's half the size of a paperclip that supports 4 to 8 antenna elements, and there'll be 3 of these going in the first 5G smartphones. So in terms of the technology, we're ahead. Qualcomm's ahead, and we're American.
Well, let me just interject, though. With regard to our Spectrum Now Act, which we still don't have any testimony on, it's intended to make spectrum available by providing support for users to research new and innovative ways to increase spectrum efficiency. Is this a bill any of you have looked at? My goodness.
Absolutely, we support it.
Okay, I see.
Absolutely. I apologize. It was a big question. I didn't get to all of it.
Right.
We support it.
And then the other thing I wanted to clarify on midband is there is something the FCC just announced this 3.7 to 4.2 notice of proposed rulemaking, thick document, asking a lot of questions. That just happened. But so they're going to have to wait for the private sector companies to make their comments, and they're going to have a series of issues that they have to grapple with. But what the FCC could do, and both Mr. Cowden and I have alluded to it, for more mid-band spectrum today, is the FCC's had this proceeding going on about the rules for the CBRS band, which is 3.5 to 3.7 gigahertz. That's 150 megahertz, which could be used for 5G, but there's an FCC proceeding that they haven't finished up. It would be fantastic, and it would help us on the scorecard that Ms. Baker keeps if we could finish that, if the FCC could finish that proceeding quickly.
In 10 seconds.
You know, real quickly, I would say while there are some issues in terms of technology leadership and ranking us in the world with 5G development, one of the critical issues with 5G, regardless, that many infrastructure providers are already doing anyway, is building out expansive wireline connectivity. Because when you go to 5G, you're going from these macro towers to small cells. Those small cells need wireline connectivity. And so we're not stopping or waiting to build out that wireline infrastructure. And that really is the long pole in the tent, so to speak. And so I want to be clear, while there are some technology issues to deal with, infrastructure providers are building out the wireline capacity to enable 5G when that equipment becomes available.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wicker. Senator Mark.